You're not crazy. You're just new.
Dun dun dun. Dun dun. Dun dun dun. Boom.
All throughout school, you learn to get good grades in classes. Then you were trained to research and survive a dissertation. But being a professor is much more than that. And you weren't trained for most of it. Being a professor means managing, coaching, counseling, designing, developing, playing, administrating, marketing, assessing, evaluating, collaborating, trying to get funding, lots of bureaucratic navigation. It's having students come cry in your office, having to make big decisions, and meet multiple deadlines at the same time. Most professors weren't even trained in how to teach, and for those that had some training, it was probably pretty scant and amounted to as much as a crash course on teaching. Heck, you don't even have time to meet with your Center for Teaching Excellence that was created just for people like you. Time wasn't included as one of the benefits on the contract they gave you, and yes, the workload they gave you for this first semester is ridiculous. Teaching, researching, advising, committeeing, putting on adult clothes. So you're not actually crazy, you're just overwhelmed. Consider this. Your first year at any normal new career is a doozy. You're jumping into a new work culture, sometimes in a new city or home. Most or all of your colleagues are unfamiliar to you. You have to learn the rules and regulations of work, and sometimes you have to learn the job itself. Even as an experienced welder or truck driver, there may be some new aspects of the job that you hadn't known before. Or they may have a company-specific way of doing otherwise familiar job tasks. Whatever the situation, it generally takes some time to get used to a normal new job. But as an academic, there's a good chance that you haven't had a lot of other careers. Some university faculty come in as industry professionals, but even those transferring from another university as an associate or full professor had to start out as an assistant professor, and most folks entering academic life haven't had another career. And I don't mean job. This isn't just a college job to make ends meet. This is probably your first real career, and you're being treated like someone at a career. Not an intern, not a student, not a part-time worker, not even a postdoctoral research fellow. You're jumping right in and taking on a lot of new responsibilities that you were protected from in one form or another. Think about it this way. As a student, you learned how to play the game in each of your classes. You learned a fairly specific set of rules and ingested a large volume of content. It was hard. Then as a graduate student, you learned to conduct research partly on your own. That was also hard and took some figuring out, but being a professor goes far beyond succeeding in classes or conducting research. You now have a multitude of new responsibilities, and the bad news is you weren't trained for almost any of them. As a new professor, you know how hard it is. You're expected to jump in there and create and teach a course on your subject of expertise. But as it turns out, designing a course where students can go from not understanding the subject to actually getting it and putting it into some kind of action can be difficult. A couple of your super students just naturally get it, but transmitting information to the rest of the class, not to mention the ones who generally struggle, isn't as intuitive. And it's not even a single clear problem because you have to design a course that's coherent and effective and then actually teach the course in an effective way, all while having some level of charisma. And that's just for the course on your subject of expertise. The department also asked you to teach the large super general lecture class that the veteran teachers didn't want to teach, plus the courses on subjects that you're only vaguely familiar with because they need to offer those courses to majors and hey, you're on the payroll, so we're going to use you. The good news is that for how unprepared you are, you do have some good, solid training in learning new tasks and working with people. All those years of jumping through GE hoops, taking classes from different professors, and having to negotiate your research projects has helped you learn to learn. That doesn't mean your courses or any of your other duties will go well right off the bat. But you know how to look at each of these as a practical problem, investigate them, and look around for solutions. You've survived graduate school and you can survive being a new professor. Not that it will be easy, nor that it's a reasonable load to dump on anyone. But if you decide academic life is for you, you will be able to develop the skills necessary to, at first, survive, and then eventually do well. And there are resources to draw from. There are centers and programs on campus dedicated to helping you out. Most institutions have some kind of Center for Teaching Excellence, and many have formal or informal professor get-togethers where you can either attend workshops or just simply connect with other people to help you feel less crazy. There are also other faculty at your university, some of whom are not out to get you. They don't have to be in your same section or even your own department. They're people who care about other faculty and are happy to mentor you either on a professional level or in a less formal way. I mean people who can observe your classes or read your manuscripts, as well as people who can help you navigate department and college politics. Friends. One of my ways of surviving and actually enjoying my academic position was to wander the halls and chat with anyone who had an open door. I guess my conversations sometimes had an academic purpose, but more often than not, I just liked finding out about who they were as real people. I remember several of my colleagues who go out for beer and pizza on a regular basis, and honestly, nothing makes work less bearable than only living and breathing work. On the other hand, seeing your colleagues as real people helps to make your workplace somewhere that you want to go back to day in and day out. And the thing I've discovered in my really eclectic set of job fields is that the people that you work with make easily as much difference at a job as the job itself. And academia has the advantage of attracting some really cool and fascinating people. Make sure to meet some of them. They can be a lifeline. And don't forget that there are fields dedicated to researching the subjects of teaching and researching. Yep, papers about how to write better papers. And thinking a little outside the box, you can find books on working with students, managing time, and yes, coaching. Because if we're being honest, being a teacher, whether inside the classroom or during office hours, involves a lot of coaching. The issue is just finding the time. There's never enough time to attend all the workshops, read all the books, or talk to all the people that you need to. There's not even enough time to design all your lesson plans, let alone revamp your courses, or get enough funding. That's simply how it is at first, and frankly stays that way, at least to some degree. So I don't have any secrets to making enough time. When you're overwhelmed, when you feel like you're drowning, it's easy to see everything falling in on you and that you have to fix it all right away. It's hard not to feel like that. But try to follow one of two main routes. One is to do a little work at everything. Pick a small task to improve each thing that's weighing you down. Accept the fact that it won't all get fixed right away, but at least it will all get a little bit better each time. Or pick one project to focus on. Make that one repeating course a lot better, or make it a little more hands-off for yourself so that you can stop worrying about it for a longer period of time, and again accept the fact that the other things won't get worked on just yet. They'll have their turn next. And be willing to say no. You can't say no to everything, but you probably can say no to more things than you realize as a new professor. You can't join all the committees that your mentor or chair want you to. You can't attend all the workshops that you really ought to as a teacher, researcher, and grant writer. You sure can't solve all your students' scholastic and personal problems. And you can't take on all the side projects that your department needs you to. If your colleagues are smart, they'll try to protect at least some of your time so that you can begin to adjust, and so that you want to stay. But they can't protect all of your time, because they hired you so that they wouldn't be quite so overwhelmed. And believe me, they're overwhelmed too. But there are some things that you can and should pass on. Mostly, if you've made it this far in the video, just realize you're not the only one that feels overwhelmed. So you're not crazy, you're just new. Well, maybe you're a little crazy. You are a professor after all. One of my ways of surviving and enjoying my academic position was to wander the halls and chat with anyone who had an open door and then scratch my nose. Because yes,